Okay, check this out. North American Simulation and Gaming Association says something incredibly stupid. But the question is, who on earth is North American Simulation and Gaming Association? Because apparently they're very influential. So if you go on their website, you find out that they have conferences and they have scholars and academics, and these are the people. Now, when you look at the people here, you realize they're not the kind of people that you see at your gaming store. It's not the kind of people that you get at your tabletop game. And if you listen to them speak, the reason is that they're ideologues. They are far left-wing ideologues. All they talk about is 90% about social issues, left-leaning issues, and maybe they can devote 10% to talk about video games. And what is their purpose? Why are they doing this? Well, they actively say what their purpose is and why they are doing this. And if you click here at Why Use Games, they talk a lot about how games are an avenue for people to learn things. And then they talk about how they need to take the things that they learn and the bonds that they create to the workplace. And this reminded me of a feminist study written by a gender studies university professor who wants to treat its own students as a virus to destabilize systems of power, to destabilize capitalism. And this is in their own words. So what they want to do is to indoctrinate students with a far left ideology, and then when those students leave university and they get a job at Gillette, they want to destabilize Gillette. In other words, the money that would go towards advertising is now going towards promoting far left ideology. So that is the goal. And you can see that this is what they are doing with tabletop games and with other things. And I didn't realize up until now, because now it all makes sense. So the Ideologues first target a hobby. And the hobby is very diverse. Like, it's got all type of people from all types of ideologies, all types of walks of life. But the Ideologue says that, okay, now this is a community. And they get to speak on behalf of the community. And then they try to make the community more inclusive, which actually means they want to purge the community. So when they say, like, let's make a community more inclusive, they're not trying to reach out and get more people to join. No, what they're saying is that if we kick enough people out that are bad, then more people will join. So they will say, all right, well, no pixels for fascists, or, no fascists in Warhammer, that type of nonsense. But the thing is, like, who they consider a fascist? Because, like, when you play board games, politics doesn't even come up. But what they say fascist is everyone that disagrees with far left ideology. So they purge every single person that don't keep their mouth shut. They don't want you to participate, so that the only people remaining at the table are people who are far left. And what they want is for you to constantly talk about politics, just nonstop, just constantly talk about politics. Again, 90% is politics, 10% is the actual hobby. And then they want you to take that to the workplace, and they want you to use that ideology at your workplace. So they want you to destabilize the work environment. Exactly the same like that university professor who said that students are like viruses. That's literally what they're trying to achieve. They want you to go on Twitter, they want you to flag people for wrong thing, they want you to do all sort of activism on their behalf, they want you to participate in their protests, they want you to, like, physically be there, use your resources, use everything you can to push their ideology. And this is why they constantly go into gaming. This is why they constantly latch on to forums about movies and TV shows, and why they're constantly going in all these entertainment avenues. Now, the way they justify, like, for example, you get companies that make decisions that make absolutely no sense. Like, I have explained how Dungeons and Dragons functions. I have explained that the reason you have quote-unquote races, which actually in Dungeons and Dragons aren't like in the real world. You don't have the same concept. Like, for example, a black person exists in Dungeons and Dragons, but he's still a human, right? A different race in Dungeons and Dragons means like a halfling or an elf. Like, they're completely different species. They're kind of like the aliens from Star Trek, like Vulcans, right? But the way the races are made in Dungeons and Dragons, they're stereotypical elements from the human experience, and they are dialed up to 11. So, for example, the dwarves, they're very loyal. They're clan-based. They hold grudges. and all that type of thing. But they're also good worksmen and craftsmen. So it's very interesting to see the drama that's being caused when you take a dwarf and you put him with an elf who is whimsical, doesn't really care about honor as much as the dwarf. He's more in tune with nature. He likes to live alone. He doesn't like cities. And now you have a party with these two individuals that have to work together in order to defeat Sauron. And it creates interesting storytelling. It's the whole purpose why fantasy has races, is to create this drama. But Dungeons & Dragons says, no, we're going to remove it. Okay, whatever. I mean, I hope that works out for you. I don't understand why I would even play fantasy at this point. I mean, I can just play some low fantasy and completely ignore it. But like, okay, fine. Now, you have the academics supporting this decision. And they say that humans cannot realistically imagine a completely disconnected reality. In other words, humans, by seeing racism in Dungeons & Dragons, they see racism in real life. They don't prove this. They assert it. Like, at this point, it's just a hypothesis. They haven't proven it. And even if they would prove it, you would have to also prove that it's so significant that, like, people who play Dungeons & Dragons become racist. Like, by the way, this would be a very easy study to do. Like, take 100 people. Make sure they're not a racist. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure the academics have the racism Thetan thermometer to figure out just how much percent of racismus a person has, right? Because they're academics, they're very smart. I mean, billions of dollars of taxpayer money are being pumped into academia to solve this problem. I assume they have something by now. So you take 100 people, you measure their racismus, then you get them to play Dungeons & Dragons, and you measure their racismus again afterwards. And you see if it went up or down, right? Isn't this how you would do? They don't do this experiment. Because they don't need to. All they do is they make an assertion. And I think it's bullshit. Because I grew up with Xena Warrior Princess, Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, many TV shows that showed women being strong. Like a woman managing to beat men 10 times her size. Now, did this influence my perception? Probably to a certain degree. I might have think it's like, okay, well, if a woman takes karate lessons, then she doesn't need a man's help. She can defend herself. But then real life hits you. You say that in a classroom, everyone laughs at you, the women laugh at you, and you realize, okay, well, maybe that's not so true. Right? And reality is more powerful than fiction. Like, reality dominates fiction. I don't care what fiction tells me. When I see it in real life, I change my mind. Like, humans are not a blank piece of paper that gets filled by whatever they see in entertainment and movies. And then when life shows them the opposite, they're like, nah, man, nah. So, in other words, when you say academics, most people think, oh, well, they're from the university. Clearly, they know what's up. They're the people that are the closest to the truth. Like, they had the rigorous academic debate. And they had their hypothesis. Everyone tried to question it. Everyone tried to challenge it. No one managed to succeed. So this is the truth. Or at least as close as we can get. In reality, they don't have the truth. All they have is a hypothesis. That they haven't even done an experiment to at least attempt to prove the hypothesis. I mean, sure, it sounds kind of good. But, like, we also had, for the last 10 years, the concept that video games cause violence. Because it sounds good, right? Like, I mean, someone plays violent video games and they get some of that into their head and then they do violent things. But then there were studies which proved that, no, that's not the case. Okay, so it was literally the same thing. Like, people made a hypothesis without proving it, without showing anything. And then, when someone actually did do an experiment, they found out that, no, it's not the case. If it were the case, it would have been awful. I mean, think about how many people play video games nowadays. I mean, there's billions of people that play video games. If they were to be violent because they play video games, I mean, the world would have been more violent than ever before. But that's not the case. I mean, since video games came up, the violence levels have went down. It's kind of difficult for people to commit crime when they're sitting at home playing video games. So I hope this video manages to help you articulate a little bit more on what is going on and why these people are pushing for what they're pushing. And most importantly, why they are disingenuous and need to be gatekept from your hobbies. Like, they are not there to improve your hobbies. They're not trying to be your friend. They're not trying to help bring more people at the table. They're doing quite the opposite. They got an agenda. They want to push for their ideology. They view you as a useful idiot to become their political pawn. So you need to resist this. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.